Hey guys, so this is my presentation on Google and how it became the big company you see it is globally, worldwide, everywhere. You see it everywhere. So let's get into it. So this is the beginning of Google. I will give you guys a little bit of an insight on how they came to be, who created it, how it started, how it grew from there, and let's go into the next slide. Um, so this is the global orientation. So basically, in the late '90s, there was a time where basically you couldn't find. It was unclear how to find certain websites and articles and things like that. You couldn't find what you wanted when you were searching up on a computer. So basically, the creators of Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they created well, at the time it was called Backrub, but they created Google. And basically, it was a search engine where you could type whatever you needed, like let's say keywords or questions, and it would bring up the most popular results and display them for you by most popular to the least popular. And basically, you would it would make it a lot easier for people who were using computers at the time because you couldn't really find anything. So they were able to keep benefiting and keep growing as a company when they were offered actually an investment by this man named Andy Bechtolsheim. So I definitely butchered that name, but he was the co-founder of Sun Microsystems, which created computers and PCs at the time, and startup computers, stuff like that. And he basically saw the potential in Google and decided to donate, invest 100,000 into the company. Actually, it was called Backrub in the time, like I said before, and he was the one that recommended that they changed it to Google. So from there on, Google kept growing by adapting to technology, like adapting their technology to society. Because as you can tell, technology has evolved over time. We went from computers to phones, like flip phones, and now we're on smartphones and tablets. Even our TVs nowadays can be used as some sort of a device like that. And basically, I think that Andy Bechtolsheim, he definitely saw the potential that these computers don't necessarily have a search engine, and they're going to need something like that for the future if they keep developing these products. So that's where Google comes into play. So this next part is Google's commitment to the future. So Google's commitment is basically, I'll let you guys know in the next few slides about how they're developing the future for the rest of the world. So their social responsibility is it revolves around education, unemployment, and racial justice. So a little bit of insight on this: Google has committed up to $50 million into building schools and helping these disadvantaged communities to create schools. They realize that the children are basically the future of the world. They're going to be the ones that are going to they're going to shape the future and how everything's going to turn out eventually. So without a proper education at a young age, it's kind of hard to do that. So second part is unemployment. So basically, Google has invested money into technology and other resources for unemployed people to help find jobs. They want to help these people who are currently unemployed get through this hard time. Obviously, losing a job is very difficult for people because that's their source of income, and money means almost everything nowadays. So the third thing would be racial justice. Google is investing in organizations that are actually fighting against racial injustice and other racial topics. They realize that there's a lot of racial discrimination around the world, in the U.S., especially recently with the current riots, and they want to help these organizations fight back against that. So, next part, the sustainability. So, Google is actually the first carbon neutral company, and basically, if you don't know what carbon neutral is, because you're probably looking at me right now saying, "What is that?" So, carbon neutral is basically where a company can balance out carbon monoxide with something called carbon removal. Basically, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know too much about that, but basically, it just helps eliminate carbon monoxide, since carbon monoxide is one of the biggest pollutants into the atmosphere today. And obviously, pollutants in the atmosphere causes global warming. Global warming causes icebergs to melt and a lot more stuff, and basically global catastrophic events. So basically, Google wants to help save the Earth because, well, we won't have a place to live in, and their goal is to help save the Earth by using different alternatives, and one would be carbon neutral practices. They've actually started this movement and basically has spread it with other companies. Like if you look at Apple, for example, they just recently became completely carbon neutral by minimizing their packaging. Their overall goal is to become completely carbon free by 2030, and they want to try to spread this movement to everyone else. They're trying to find new ways to be efficient every day. And so there's a little bit of quote right there. Kind of goes into play with what we were talking about. So Google's standpoint on a cultural and global diversity. So Google, as you can tell, they're very beneficial to the community, the world. They help give back. But even Google can make their mistakes at times. We're all human. We make mistakes from time to time. So at a cultural standpoint, Google is actually receiving a lot of backlash due to its former CEO of Android, who was accused for sexual misconduct by another coworker, who was basically saying that she was forced to do certain things that she didn't want to do. And at the time of right now, there's a big culture right now of Me Too movements, where basically it's for women who can feel power, or not empowered. They can feel safe with to come out about certain things that's happened to them that they felt uncomfortable about before, and they can speak about the topic and help win the case over these people that have harmed them in the past. They can come out and be strong together. And so basically, this Me Too movement definitely didn't help Google at all, because it doesn't look good for Google to have their Android CEO being accused for sexual misconduct. And this actually caused riots and strikes. Not necessarily riots, but strikes outside the office of Google headquarters, and people just knew that this was wrong and that they need to stand up for this. So the global standpoint, where is another thing they messed up, was, if you don't know, that other countries they have Google as well, but it's more relevant towards their own country. So in this case, China is the topic that we're talking about. Google actually put a censorship on the Chinese version of the search engine. And basically, they received a lot of backlash on it, because how could their social responsibility be racial justice if they are discriminating against having the Chinese to see certain topics and articles and stuff like that? So this is the global strategy for this is Google's strategy for globalization, and basically I'll explain how Google has become the global company it is today and what strategy they use. So it's pretty straightforward. Google uses a strategy called the acquisition strategy. Basically, it's where Google can acquire companies or markets in different areas, talking about like foreign countries or even just local. They would basically invest into the company or market, and yeah, so basically you'd be buying it out. But Google has two approaches. They can either buy out the company if they agree to it, or they can do partnerships. It really all depends on who they approach. So this helps create credibility and for Google in those areas, because they have tie-ins with a partnership, or they own something there already. So people are more likely to buy off Google or use Google products and other stuff like that. It's similar to how if you were introducing your friend to another friend, and they can feel more comfortable about it because you know them. So that's kind of how they tie in together. Overall, this was the presentation, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.